I get the strategy. We all do. Donald Trump hopes that by bombing the globe, bombing Iran, starting wars, threatening wars, that we won't notice the chaos at home, that we won't notice the failed presidency at home, that we won't notice the failed economy at home. But people notice. And even at home, scandal after scandal, sex scandal after sex scandal, embroiling this administration in a tangled web of deceit and lies and cover-up like we've never seen. We cover all of the madness and chaos of the Trump administration, and more importantly, link it to what it means for his midterms and political survivability on Legal AF, the podcast. Ben and me are back, and here is a clip.
A lot to discuss on this weekend's Legal AF, and most importantly, Michael Popak is back to break it down. We're going to talk about how Pam Bondi and Howard Lutnick are headed for depositions before the House Oversight Committee, how that came about, and now Pam Bondi is demanding that local state bar organizations at state and local levels should not have authority to conduct ethics investigations and or discipline DOJ lawyers. We'll talk about that. New 302 FBI interviews and reports have surfaced right around the time that Pam Bondi was subpoenaed. Coincidence? I think not. The Department of Justice dismissed their appeal in the loser of a case they filed against law firms, trying to shut down these law firms, essentially ban them from dealing with the government if Trump didn't like the lawyers in the firms. And this was used by Donald Trump to also try to extract these mega settlements from other firms. The law firms that fought back, as you know, won and won big. The Trump regime appealed it. The Trump regime dismissed the appeal, but then the Trump regime said, oopsies, we didn't mean to dismiss the appeal because Donald told us he wants to do a frivolous appeal. So can we withdraw the dismissal? It's such a lame and loser DOJ. We'll talk about that. Also, amid all of the atrocious conduct and the deadly conduct of ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo, Kristi Noem finally fired by the Trump regime, although she's been moved to now become the special envoy for the Shields of America. It's the made up bizarre thing that Trump thinks this is some like Apprentice reality show dystopian version where we're all non-consensual extras in this, essentially World War III cauldron that he's created. Markwayne Mullin has been moved in to replace Kristi Noem, but she hasn't been fired because of all of the bad conduct and illegal conduct that she's engaged in. It was how she answered a question about an ad campaign that Donald Trump didn't like. We'll talk about that and more on this episode of Legal AF. And I would be remiss if not mentioning at the top of this, as these Legal AFs also need to be contextualized in place and time in history. America is still in an unlawful war against Iran. Earlier on Saturday, Donald Trump said Iran has surrendered to all of the nations in the Middle East, which is absolutely false. Then Donald Trump held a meeting with all these South American, Central American countries. Not all of them showed, where Donald Trump bragged about how our missiles can kill people in their living rooms and how lethal we are. And then Pete Hegseth talked about how lethal we are. These are very, very, very bizarre times. The reality is that very dangerous times. The reality is that Iran is getting hit hard by the Trump regime. Let's be very clear. Also, crimes against humanity being committed by the Trump regime and hitting Iran hard. And we know about the situation where they blew up an elementary school, killing 150 children. And teachers at this school, but also Iran striking back, and Iran's been hitting the neighbors. And we know the Arab nations where there are American interests. And we know that the price of gas is quickly approaching $100 a barrel. We know the price of diesel is now surging. And this is just going to add to increased inflation, increased costs, big affordability issues. And why I also mention this as I bring in Michael Popak is, I've called this Operation Epstein Fury. Or the Jeffrey Epstein war, because, a lot of this is to being done. Our soldiers are being sent to die. Our treasury is being looted because Donald Trump also wants to distract from the fact that he's all over these Epstein files. And I don't even think that's a controversial thing to say. I think everybody gets it. Most importantly, Popok, it's great to see you back. Everybody missed you, and let's get the show on the road.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Let me try to piece it together from my perspective. But what I've said is that Donald Trump is like he's like the reverse of Lyndon Johnson. He's exporting chaos to the globe in order to distract attention from his failures on domestic policy that we all see and feel every day. Lyndon Johnson had the opposite problem. His Great Society was amazing. He was one of the best domestic policy presidents we've ever had. If you are ever in or near Austin, Texas, it's one of the best presidential libraries. And it's hard to believe he was only in for one term. Trump's got the opposite problem. He's terrible. The economy is swirling down the drain 15 months in. You can't blame Biden any longer. Why would you blame Biden? He was creating jobs at a clip of 500,000 jobs or more a month. Donald Trump has almost created zero jobs. I'm not making this up. We just had a revision in job creation for December and January, lowering it by another 80,000. We just had a miss of 160,000 jobs. Economists thought it was going to be a terrible jobs report and only show 60,000 jobs created in the month of February. It was a loss of 90,000 jobs. They missed it by 150,000. And that is now because all of the tariff and taxing, all of the wars that he started, the chaos he's exported in order to distract from a failed administration, a scandal-scarred administration. I mean, it's not just the Epstein. I mean, the indelible stink and stench of the Epstein scandal, which Donald Trump, according to insiders, thought people would be exhausted by already and be fatigued by. We wouldn't have to cover it any longer. Why are we still talking about it? I don't know. Because a president is somehow connected to a child sex trafficking ring? In what world, in what movie or reality is that not still a story, as that same president works overtime and uses incredible amount of resources in his administration to cover up the scandal and cover up the cover-up of the scandal? And so he's got that. And then every other cabinet member has some other either Epstein problem, like the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, or a sex scandal of their own. Now, I don't know if Kristi Noem came down because she spent $220 million to do these biopics of her at Mount Rushmore on horseback talking about deporting human beings, or blame Donald Trump for the expenditure when she was pressed every time she sits in that seat. And she got grilled by not just Republicans, but by Democrats. The best line of the hearing or after the aftermath of the hearing was Senator Kennedy of Louisiana, a MAGA Republican, who said she's about as dead as fried chicken because she lied to Congress about that contract. But I don't know if it's that contract or it's the footsie she was allegedly playing with Corey Lewandowski, who's been accused of being a sexual predator himself in the past and is in the Homeland Security somehow after the Trump administration didn't want him anywhere near the administration in the first term because of allegations like this. And they were playing footsie on a Boeing 737 jet that Homeland Security was using, and a bedroom. I mean, you had Senator Whitehouse throw up a photo of a master bedroom cabin and said, "Do you know what this is?" Because there's allegations she's been behind closed doors in a bedroom with Corey Lewandowski the whole time, and then try to bring Melania Trump into it. Somebody had the bright idea to loan the plane to Melania. Now, Donald Trump hates many things. One, he doesn't like a grift that he doesn't get paid on. So if you're going to spend $220 million in advertising, find a way for Donald Trump or one of his businesses to get some of the money, not your friends. And he certainly doesn't like when Melania, who's spent very little time already at the White House, it's down to 13% this term, doesn't like when Melania gets anything related to a private jet and being thrown under a bus, to mix metaphors. He doesn't like that either. So it was that combination. But now he's got a bigger problem, Ben, because now that Kristi Noem is gone, fired by social media tweet, she's a loose cannon. does she pull a Marjorie Taylor Greene and completely, dump all over the Trump administration because they didn't, she's I thought it was a Marvel movie. She's going to be the head of Shield. That's amazing. What a great job. So I guess they kept her kind of tethered there, but she's got a nasty habit of blaming Trump for things when she gets under fire. And then you got the labor secretary who has her own allegations against her husband of being a sexual abuser while she takes people to strip clubs. What is going on with this administration? It is not only a morally bankrupt administration, ethically bankrupt, illegal, but everybody there is practicing some version of magical thinking, hoping things will go well for them, especially when it comes to the Epstein scandal, which we're going to talk about next.
Yeah, another word for magical thinking, fraud. And one of the reasons, as it relates to Trump, that is, and one of the reasons we focus so heavily on Donald Trump's moral character, or I should say lack thereof, is because the idea of leadership is not talked about enough or at all by corporate news. And when lots of people are like, oh, you just hate Donald Trump, you're the anti-Trump channel. It's not because I just don't like this guy. It's not like this guy rubs me the wrong way. And by the way, there are lots of people with flawed moral character. It doesn't mean that I just go out and make it my business to make it clear that they have these moral failings. It's because when you put somebody in a leadership position, especially the biggest leadership position in the country, if not the world, although America is certainly shrinking its position in the world. We'll save that for more political and geopolitical analysis on the MeidasTouch Network. That bleeds into all these other areas, right? The way Donald Trump handled lawsuits is now how the DOJ deals with it. Loser, manipulative, vindictive, frivolous. And now that infringes and encroaches upon our constitutional rights. The way Donald Trump dealt with contracts, not honoring them, ripping them to shreds, bad faith negotiations, not negotiating at all. That's how he deals with the Constitution, ripping the biggest contract we have here is the Constitution in the United States to shreds. But even how Donald Trump negotiated with Iran, where we picked a mediator, the foreign minister of Oman, who said that there was a big breakthrough, that technical details needed to be sorted out last Monday. And then during the break between Friday's mediation and Monday's mediation, the United States struck Iran because they said Israel was going to strike first. And so all these other areas, and Donald Trump being a sexual predator, he surrounds himself with other sexual deviants and sexual predators. The guy who hangs out with Epstein and Epstein class makes the Epstein class his cabinet. I'm not saying this to exaggerate. If Epstein, if Epstein was alive today, he may get a cabinet role in he may become the Commerce Secretary. He probably would be pardoned and he would be up for a major role. I'm not exaggerating by even saying that. The people who Trump surrounds himself with right now are part of that whole Epstein cruise.
Welcome back, Legal AF, the podcast. I founded it with Ben 6 years ago on the MeidasTouch Network. And it spawned a lot of different things like Legal AF, the YouTube channel, which you're on right now. Hit the free subscribe button. Help us to continue to grow this channel as well. Till our next report, I'm Michael Popak. I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of MeidasTouch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.